In the marshlands of eastern Fuekai, I, Corbius, set my snares and traps. As an old trapper, the shadows of twilight were my allies. Guided by torchlight, I would set out every evening, weaving my traps for the nocturnal creatures that lurked within. On a good night, their catches would provide me both a meal and an opportunity to barter pelts with the nearby clans. Those marshlands held a solitude I had come to cherish, often finding me resting within the embrace of hollowed trees. But one fateful night changed everything. Having finished setting my traps, I sought shelter for the night. The bog sprites often made their presence known with faint luminescence, but that night a different light beckoned. Hidden behind the thickets, I spotted a clearing illuminated by multiple torches. Figures gathered and laughed around a blazing fire. Longing for human interaction in the midst of this wilderness, I approached, hoping for a warm reception. But the moment they spotted me, their mirthful grins twisted into sinister smirks. A man in a crimson cloak lunged at me, a rope clutched in his hand. Despite my attempt to flee, age weighed down my steps. In an instant he was upon me, pulling me to the ground and binding my wrists with the rough rope. "Release me," I pleaded. He responded only with a cold silence, dragging me before the gathering. Staring up at them, a horrifying realization dawned upon me. The symbols painted upon their faces were alien to me, their skins tinted in hues I had never seen before. The cloaks they wore were not dyed in any conventional manner. They bore the unmistakable stain of blood, a macabre tapestry that had become their signature hue. Their laughter, to my horror, echoed mockingly. "Have you no respect for an old man?" I cried out, desperation evident in my voice. But my plea only seemed to incite more amusement as some spat disdainfully upon my face. I struggled against my bonds, but they held firm. With dwindling hope, I called upon the heavens. "Merciful gods of the celestial realms, spare me from this grim fate." My earnest appeal seemed to send them into fits of laughter so uncontrollable, some collapsed, gasping for breath. It bewildered me how the genuine terror of one could be so amusing to another. As their laughter subsided and they returned to their feet, one man's gaze fixed on a nearby torch. Grasping its handle, he plucked it from the soft earth and approached me. I was forced to stare directly into his pitiless eyes as he deliberately tilted the torch, letting burning embers cascade onto my exposed chest. The searing pain was instantaneous. I screamed, writhing and attempting to escape the smoldering heat, but their hands held my legs fast, pinning me down. My cries pierced the night, rousing the creatures of the forest, and startled birds took flight from the trees above. Gasping amidst the pain, I managed to ask, "Why are you doing this to me?" "In delighting at another's suffering," the man with the embers replied, his voice dripping with derision. Tears streamed down my face, the weight of impending doom pressing heavily on my chest. My whispered prayers seemed in vain. How foolish I had been to hope. But then, emerging from the darkness, came an unexpected savior. A grotesque behemoth, it towered over us, standing as tall as 3 men. Its fingers were elongated, sharp as blades, and its mouth, gaping and wide, stretched from the top of its head down to its neck. In place of a nose sat another head, disproportionately larger than a human's. With swift brutality, the creature closed its hand around one man, crushing him with a sickening splatter. The others, gripped by terror, scrambled to escape, but the creature was relentless. I watched, both horrified and grateful, as it pulverized one man and effortlessly lifted another, consuming half of him in a single bite, leaving the remaining legs twitching in its wake. The intensity of my tremors felt as if my skin might split open. Managing to get onto my knees, I tried to crawl away when the creature turned its attention to me. Frozen in place, I looked up, confronted by the sheer terror of its visage. Words failed me. My throat constricted in fear, and I felt paralyzed as I met the very embodiment of death. Yet rather than sealing my fate, the creature delicately released my bindings and peered down at me with its twin faces. "I heard your prayers," it rumbled, "and tonight by my grace I am your savior." The creature's voice left me even more stunned. I stumbled backward, landing hard on my backside. I might have screamed had my voice not abandoned me along with any remnants of bravery. In that chilling moment, I realized that this horrifying entity was the answer to my desperate prayers. "Corbius," the creature intoned, "you have long been under my observation. In you I see a man of skill and foresight, a trapper who has braved the elements and chosen a path apart from the common man. You have intrigued me." Grateful yet shaken, I managed, "Thank you for sparing me." My knees wobbled under its penetrating gaze and its claim of having known me. Did I truly spare you? The chilling question caused a tremor to race up my spine. Every instinct screamed for me to flee. "I have a task for you, Corbius," the creature declared. His expressions drove me suspicious. "Purpose, what service could I be for you? I could be of no value to a god such as yourself." The slaughter of my heart clouded my hearing, but what he delivered next swung my blood raw. "I am neither god nor devil," the creature began, its voice echoing eerily. "I am an apostle, and you, Corbius, are destined to be my acolyte. In my benevolence I grant you a new title, Mansa Thaitin, servant of Thatos, apostle of Raligmor." I shut my eyes tight, trying to shield myself from the power of his words, yet his voice resonated, echoing deeply within my mind. That name, Mansa Thaitin, it was unfamiliar, yet its very syllables seemed to etch themselves painfully onto my consciousness, grinding against every thought I held. It made me wish to cut myself clean with a knife. "How could I ever serve you?" I countered, desperation evident in my voice. "I'm already 82 years old. What could I possibly learn from you?" A semblance of a smirk stretched across Thatos's face, if one could even call it that. "Time will hold little meaning for you now," he murmured ominously. "Tonight, under this very twilight, your very existence will change." With his colossal hand, he reached down and lifted a severed part of a man. Extracting the heart with his sharp talons, he squeezed, letting the lifeblood trickle out. He anointed my forehead with the still warm liquid, then boomed, "You are now bound as the servant of Raligmor." Suddenly, a crushing sensation overwhelmed my chest. I clutched at my throat, struggling for air, collapsing to the earth. Every muscle seized in agony, each movement a battle. It felt as if a curse had tightened its grip around me. Desperate for breath, it evaded me, leaving me cold and lifeless under Thatos' gleeful gaze. If I had the strength, I might have begged my former tormentors for mercy in comparison to this anguish. I lay paralyzed, every sensation heightened in the stillness of the night. An eerie calm, like nothing I'd ever felt before, enveloped me. It dawned upon me. My heart no longer thudded in my chest, my blood frozen in place. Overcome by a weariness as if I'd been running for days on end, I somehow managed to stand. "What have you done to me?" I rasped. "You needn't await death's call any longer, for you now walk among the departed," Thatos intoned. "Rejoice in this newfound existence. The burdens of breath, hunger, and sleep are no longer yours to bear. But time waits for no one, my acolyte. There is much to learn, and our window narrows with every passing moment." And so I left the identity of Corbius in the past, emerging anew as Mansa Thaitin, devoted servant to Raligmor and bound vassal to Thatos.